The Lakebed. It was almost daylight when Ishia and the Zixes scaled the fortress down, and as they dropped to the ground, they crawled forward into the woods, careful not to be seen by a handful of Malservius that were scattered very far from them. Inside the woods, they followed the tracks of the Malservius downhill until they reached the forest. It was empty except for the birds and a few animals that went around. Not far from them, they saw a group of Mals carrying equipment with them, and they were heading towards the fortress. With them were a few armed Malservius serving as their guards. The sight of the Mals made Ishia in disbelief, and he sensed that they were prisoners of the few dark and armed kinds that were walking beside them. He motioned for the Zixes to take positions. They would make an ambush. Among the Mals in the group were Marcello and Harbus, the son of Ginkgo. As the group of Mals passed the Zixes, Ishia gave the order. The Mals were shocked seeing the guards dropped dead to the ground, arrows embedded in their bodies. They looked around, saw nothing. Less than 20 Malservius were still standing and looking everywhere until the next wave hit them as they all dropped dead. The Mals, docked on the ground, were in total disbelief seeing the dead Malservius, and when Ishia and the Zixes appeared before them, they were just a few meters away at an almost a touching distance. The Zixes perfected camouflaging in the woods using paints in their bodies that blended with nature. Ishia came forward to the Mals, whose faces were that of fear, and spoke a language that he believed the Mals would understand, the language of the northern Redths. I am Ishia, a 19 from the Dikor mountain, and the land of the Ozalbenegs. We came here to look for our kind that the Malservius have captured, and we don't know if they are dead or alive. We just wanted to get them back if they are still alive, or their bodies if they are dead. Do you know where they are? The Mals looked at one another. No one was speaking until an older Mal, who worked at the fortress, spoke. They are dead. They were buried not far from here, and they were killed by the Malservius. Ishia was silent. His feeling about Cassie's fate was true. He nodded. Where are you going? Ishia asked. We don't know. We are just following the Malservius. Maybe they will ask us to work in the fortress or to cut some logs and woods for them, Harbus replied. Can you take us to where they buried our brothers? Ishia asked. He was looking at the Mal, who knew and nodded. Our families will be in great danger if the Malservius learned of this. You must help us, Marcello remarked. Ishia looked at him, and he saw the heads of the other Mals nodding. The Malservius were holding our families as prisoners. If we don't do what they want us to do, they will kill all of them. Ishia was unsure. He just wanted to find Cassie's body, but the looks of the Mals, helpless as they were, made him ask them further. Where are they? In the lake. They are in the dungeons underneath the lake bed. Underneath the lake. Yes. How many Malservius are there? Most of the Malservius left Mathipus. I am not sure, but maybe 100 or more. We don't know how many Malservius there really are. Okay. Some of you should come with us to where the lake is. The rest should continue your travel up to the fortress. If the Malservius at the fortress asked why you are there, tell them that you were told to go there. They do not know what had happened here, and they will believe you. Stay there for a while, pretend that you are all working. Take their attention away from the lake while we do something there. Better, count them all, know where their positions are so we will know what to do with them when we come back. Do you understand? The Mals nodded. Navi, stay here and give us a warning if the Malservius from the fortress are heading back to the lake. Be careful with the blue falcons. Don't let those birds see you and the others. Navi nodded and went uphill together with about 20 Zixes. Ishia then turned to the Mals. Can you describe me your place? It is not far from here. After this forest we will go inside the woods, and downhill is the lake. It looks like a normal lake, for you wouldn't see anyone there at this time. We live at the banks and our houses are covered by the rocks. Underneath the lake the Malservius live. They just stay there most of the time and only come out whenever we are in danger from the intrusions of another kind, or they need to replace their guards in the fortresses, Marcello remarked. What do you mean fortresses? There is another fortress in the east after the rainforest. It is designed to ensure that all of you cannot escape. Ishia interrupted Harbus, who was about to say protect us, but Ishia's words made him nod. How do we get to your families if they are underneath the lake bed? We can't swim. We can use the passage leading to the refinery below. It is empty, for no one is there by this time. Ishia and the Zixes followed the Mals. Slowly they were seeing the lake from afar, and within its perimeter they saw a few Malservius guarding its surroundings. There were no fewer than 50. On top of the trees they also saw a few birds, the blue falcons. He held the arm of Harbus, who volunteered to take the Zixes while Marcello led the Mals up to the fortress in the west. This is difficult. The blue falcons can alert the guards. We must create a diversion. We will go into the east and the west, and upon my signal show yourselves to the guards. Surely, they will come to you. By then we will know how many they really are. Do you understand? Harbus nodded. Ishia gave a few more instructions to Harbus and the Mals. Then, the Zixes used their skill in crawling the ground unseen. One group crawled to the east while another group proceeded to the west. When they were in position he motioned to the Mals. The Mals ran towards the lake, and their presence surprised the Malservius who saw them. They readied at their sight. No, please. The head guard ordered to stand down, seeing a few mals coming out from the woods unarmed. He was staring at Harbus but ready with his weapon. A few Malservius came out from everywhere until the Zixes had a good view of the guards of the lake who gathered together at the sight of the Mals. What happened? A Malservia asked. There are enemies in the forest. We were attacked by them and we were the only ones who survived. The Malservia, uncertain of what he heard, motioned to move to the woods where the Mals came. At this time, the Zixes fired their arrows from the woods. It was a signal for Harbus and the Mals to drop to the ground. The Malservius were confused, seeing arrows flew from different directions. They couldn't see the enemy but were hearing the sounds of death as a few arrows flew over them, hitting the blue falcons on the trees. It only took a few moments till all the guards at the lake dropped dead to the ground. A few blue falcons tried to flee but the skilled Zixes brought them down as well. None escaped. The Zixes emerged from their hiding places and they were not far from the Mals. The Mals led the Zixes to where they dropped the sea leaves for wine as Ishia told a few Mals to gather all the dead Malservius and hide their bodies. He wanted the lake clean so other Malservius would not suspect that there was intrusion. He advised the other Zixes to remain at the perimeter of the lake as guards as he ordered them to attack any Malservia that may come out from the lake. A Mal volunteered to stay with the Malservius and dived silently into the water to see if Malservius were coming out from the lake. The Zixes followed Harbus as he opened the cover of the pit that was deep and dark. Harbus entered first and used the ladder on his way down while the Zixes followed. They reached the bottom where lights reflected the tunnels that Harbus told them as the way to the refinery. They carefully entered the cold tunnel and passed by the rooms where the barrels were being aged as Harbus opened another door where a long and a large alley was. At the end of the alley was a wide space where several large tunnels of different shapes and sizes were visible. Harbus told them what he knew about it. The middle tunnel leads to the chamber of the elders. Beside it leads to our graveyard. The other one leads to another large alley where the Malservius come and go via the lake. This one on the left will take us to the armory and those two above leads to the dungeons designed for the prisoners. Ishia looked at the many tunnels before them and he ordered how it was built. The tunnels looked like long rooms with carefully crafted wooden walls covering the earth and rocks behind it with ceilings composed of several medium-sized logs arching towards its walls. It looked like a passage leading to a large and a beautiful hall and the lamps attached to its polished walls, equidistant apart, provided warmth and coziness. What about the other tunnels? Where do they lead to? Ishia whispered. I don't know. I just know a few of these tunnels. My father may know and I think he and the others are in the dungeons for Miro made them prisoners. We can go there first. They were about to move when they heard noises. It was coming from the tunnel leading to the dungeons. Harbus and the Zixes hid in the dark of their tunnel as they watched the few Malservius emerged and entered the large passage leading to the armory. I don't like this. We will be trapped here the moment they learn about us. Besides, we do not know how many guards are there in each of the tunnels. It looks risky. The dungeons normally have no guards. If there will be guards it will be at the armory. Those Malservius who came out from the tunnel leading to the dungeons probably just checked their prisoners. I know it is empty of guards. We can free my father and the others. Ishia looked at Harbus whose eyes were seemed to be pleading. He ordered a 19 to crawl the tunnel as they watched the 19 vanished inside. They waited and a few moments later, the 19 was motioning for them to follow. Carefully, they emerged from their tunnel and entered the other passage leading to the dungeons. Unlike the refinery, the path was dark and wet and they could hear coughing. They got near a room where light was seeping out as a 19 pulled out a dagger and broke the lock. They opened the door and before them in a very large room that resembled like a hall were Ginkgo, Dira, Harker and the other Mals, young and old. The Mals were surprised at the sudden presence of an unknown kind that they just saw the first time with Harbus. Harbus. Father, we will take you out from here. They are the Zixes from the Dikor Mountains and they came to aid us. The Zixes looked at the Mals and Ishia was studying them one by one. He still couldn't believe that he would see a Mal for he regarded them like myths and legends whose stories were handed by their olds to the younger generation. Tell them we should move now. We have to go, Ishia whispered. Father, we have to go. We can't leave the others here. We must free them too, Harker remarked. There are others, Ishia asked. Yes. They are our wives and daughters and they are in the armory. Where is the armory? In that large tunnel over there, Harker told as the Zixes looked at a darker passage where Harker was pointing to. Harbus, let them out outside. We will go to the armory, Ishia remarked. Father, you let them with Harker and I will follow you. I will come with you, Harbus, Dira remarked. Dira, you must come with us, Ginkgo remarked. No, I know more of these tunnels than any one of you, Ginkgo. Please, go with Harker and the others. Bring them out here, Ginkgo understood as he nodded and hugged Dira for the first time. A 19 rushed towards them motioning to Ishia that some Malservius had entered their tunnel. They all went inside the room with the Mals and closed its door and moments later they heard several footsteps past them. No one was breathing as the Zixes readied their arms until the last shadow passed them. Slowly, they opened the door and a 19 went ahead to check their way back while the other one went on the other side, following the Malservius. Ishia saw the 19 signaling them to go. "It's clear, go," Ishia remarked. One by one the Mals emerged from the room and followed a 19. As they reached the mouth of their tunnel, they saw a 19 motioning for them that it was clear to cross the open section as they ran entering the tunnel leading back to the refinery. Just as another Mal was about to cross the open space towards the other tunnel, a 19 motioned for him to back off. There were Malservius coming out from one of the tunnels. Everybody hid in the cover of darkness as the armed Malservius, about 20 of them, passed their tunnel and entered the passage leading to the chamber of the elders. When they felt the Malservius were long gone, the other Mals proceeded to escape. Ishia saw the last of the Mals entered the passageway with a few of his Zixes leading them out of the lakebed. He motioned to a 19 to check the tunnel leading to the armory, and just as he was about to get in, he backed off in haste, seeing Malservius running towards him. They saw him. At the order of Ishia, the Zixes positioned for an attack, and at the very first sight of the Malservius the Zixes released their arrows and daggers as the Malservius fell dead. They waited and listened, but no more footsteps were heard from the tunnel where the dark bodies just emerged. They entered the large passage leading to the armory. It was long and far. They passed a large wooden door and it was not locked. Quietly, a 19 opened the door and before them was a very large well-lit room that looked like a large hall extending to about 100 meters that could fill 500 Zixes at a time. In one corner were piles of thick wooden boards leaning to the wall. Unfinished shields. In the middle of the room were many long rectangular tables where several hundred handles of daggers, swords, and spears designed for the Malservius were scattered. The tables were enclosed by several woodworking equipment, and at the end of the long tables were large wooden dark carriages that were at the mouth of another large tunnel. Dira and Harbus were staring at the white space filled with unfinished arms customized for the Malservius. It was the first time that Harbus saw their armory. "We worked here making those weapons. That tunnel over there leads to the north and forks northwest. Naktnus carry those carriages," Dira remarked. "They're not here. Where could they be?" Harbus remarked. "Maybe in Atena." "What? Atena?" "It is a large factory where many machineries work to keep the water from entering the passages and hold the lake bed from collapsing against the heavy water of the lake. We built it with the others while you are not yet born. We named it after Aten who designed it, and there are many large rooms there." "Where is it?" Ishia asked. "This way, follow me." Dira led the Zixes into another short passage. The path was wide but short that the Zixes had to bow their heads to keep it from hitting the short ceiling. At the end of the passage was a view of many large openings as Ishia held them and ordered a 19 to check out. The 19 slowly crawled towards the end and looked around. Then, he motioned safety. They carefully moved together until they emerged to an open space while the Zixes took positions at the other large passages where Malservius may appear. Then, they heard voices. The Zixes opened a large door on the wall, and as it revealed the room, they saw the Mals, who were equally surprised at the sight of the Zixes as the first Mals who saw them. Harbus appeared and motioned for them to keep quiet as he saw Kay and gave her a quick embrace. He told Kay about the Zixes and Marcello. The Mals followed a 19 into the passage as fears and confusions filled their eyes. As the last Mal disappeared from Ishia's view, a 19 serving as a scout motioned something to Ishia as the 19 peered on the hole of a large door. Quickly, Ishia approached the 19 and he heard gushing water behind the door. When he peered through the door, his sight beheld him. At the back of the door was a large dome-like structure, and below them was a huge space wide enough to fill the entire community of the Zixes. It was filled with several large circular wooden structures being propelled by water flowing down from the ceilings that were held by solid logs supported by large wall-like columns of solid logs. Some of the machines were functioning as pumps while the others were moving large links connected to several solid links that were driving two small circular wooden rotors that drove the solid shafts connected to large square-like compactors that were coming in and out from the ceiling. They were designed to push water seeping from the passages towards the long hollow square wooden pipes that ran down from the ceilings to the walls and then to the floor. Each time a main door in a passage is opened from the lake, a solid wooden wall embedded on the sides of the passage is pushed by a link connected to the wooden machines. This ensures that not all the lake water could go through the passage. As soon as the main door is closed by another link, the second door is opened, allowing few volumes of lake water to pass through. The waters that flowed inside and underneath the lake bed are being pumped out by large wooden machines to the east side of the Mal forest. Those waters joined the river in the east after the rain forest. Ishia was amazed at the Mal's ingenuity. He understood why the Malservius kept them for years.